Hello everyone, this is Shuni here. In today's discussion, I would like to talk about requirements in Focused Build and how they are different from user stories in Agile. So let's get started. About me, I'm Shrini. I have expertise in Focused Build tool and Agile, and as Synergetic, I'm responsible for solution delivery and architecture. Before we talk about the difference between requirements and user stories, let's take a moment and talk about what requirements are. Requirements are documents you can create in Focus Build to capture a feature, a capability, a user story, even a defect, gaps, or even simplification items. So, requirement is basically the starting point of the requirement to deploy process, and it has a relationship with work package and work item. Sometimes you can see the requirement, work package, and work item together as backlog or as backlog in various stages of development. We can say that because these three documents have a relationship, and requirement is the starting point of that. Now, the importance of requirement is that it connects both business and IT. Business may not have a lot of understanding of the work package and work item and all the other things like defects and all that, but they will have a good understanding of what a requirement is because you get the requirement from business in the first place. So when you capture these requirements in Focus Build, you need to engage business so that you'll be able to also get all the important information. So in Focus Build, requirements have more information. So they have a priority, their value, effort estimate, and dependency. Priority indicates how important is this requirement for business. Value is how valuable it is in terms of relative numbers. An effort estimate, which is also a relative number, is given by IT to indicate what effort it takes to complete this requirement. Well, at the requirement stage, effort estimate is just an estimate which is not necessarily, or usually it is not in terms of consulting hours or days. So requirement has all this information, and to get this information in place, you have to work with business very closely and capture this information in this document in the explore phase. So in Focus Build, you have the opportunity to engage business in this process. For making this happen, you can enable the business team with Focus Build tool so that they will be able to work with the requirements. So it's very important to have clear and unambiguous requirement with all the information needed by the end of the explore phase. That's very important for the success of the project. Like I said, with all this information, the dependencies, the relationship, and all the attributes, requirements carry a lot more information than a user story, and it plays an important role in an SAP project. Now, I want to talk about the other information relationships with requirement has with project and release planning. Although requirement directly may not have the project information initially, But when you connect it to the work package and the work item, they have this information. The work package will have the project information, which project it is assigned to, and the wave it's assigned to. Because the work package is basically at the wave level. In a wave, you complete all the work packages which are assigned to it. And the work item, which is executed in a sprint, will have the information about which sprint it is attached to. So when you look at the backlog as one entity with the requirement, work package, and work item, it does have all the release information, which wave, which sprint, which project, and all that. So this tells us that a requirement is well connected with the whole requirement to deploy process. It's all well integrated with not only just the process documentation, it's also with the release planning and project management. And that's an important aspect of Focused Build. All the modules used in Focused Build are all interconnected. And the big advantage of that is traceability. You'll be able to know all the information of the project, the status of all the development in the solution readiness dashboard. So we'll cover solution readiness dashboard in the upcoming discussions, but I just want to emphasize the advantage of all these relationship requirement has and also the other change document have is basically the traceability. There's high traceability in Focused Build so that you don't have to manually integrate or transfer data between these modules. The key information, which is definitely you need for making decisions and understanding the state of the project, is always readily available to you. Now, having explained about the relationships, attributes, and all that, you might be thinking that capturing a requirement is a bigger process and you need a lot of information. Well, that's not necessarily true. Requirement is a very flexible module, and at the time of creation, it is very simple and it requires minimal information to capture. Such a way that if you are in the workshop and you identify a gap in the SAP best practice, you'll be able to capture that as a gap right there in the workshop. Of course, you will have the opportunity to further process and put a lot more details in the requirement after the workshop and perhaps when you work with the business. So, but the key is that you will be able to start the process pretty easily and develop it further. For instance, you can just create a requirement without assigning a solution or a project, and then you can take it from there. So let's take a quick demo about how to create a requirement in a workshop, and that will explain how flexible the module is. Let us say you're in a process discussion and you're talking about the procure to pay standard business process, and you hear from business that there needs to be an enhancement. So identify the process step where you need the enhancement, or you can even attach it to the process itself. So you can click on the requirements link right here. Click on requirement, create new requirement. You want to give a title to your requirement. Priority. This is something you want to hear from the business or work with the business to identify the priority. And the business gives you the value, again, this can be considered as a collaboration exercise too, but Business generally gives you the value, which means that how valuable is this requirement for them. Effort estimate. IT generally provides the effort estimate, and this is a relative number. At this point, you may not have the effort estimate in terms of hours or days. So this is just a relative number to indicate the effort. If this is a gap, you want to classify as a gap. If you have any information about what's the enhancement is like, you can put it in. Otherwise, you can process the information later. Rest of all can be processed later when you work with the business, so that by end of the explore phase, you have a requirement which has pretty much all the information, the key attributes, as well as it is also approved. So it is that simple. You'll be able to capture requirements during your process discussion itself, where the requirement itself gets attached to the process, and thereby creating you a process-centric view of the requirements itself. But the key is that you're able to engage business into process discussion and using best practices as your starting point, and also you're able to capture requirements at the same time. So this is a very effective way of gathering requirements. That's my main point here. That's it. You save the requirement, and you can come back to it later and add more information as you like. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please send me an email, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you. Bye.